Hello and welcome to Thinknyx, your go-to place for simplified tech learning. Here, I, Akanksha, will be talking about few most important concepts in Python programming, classes and objects. And we are also going to dive deep into public, protected and private members in Python. So let's get started. What are classes and objects? Let's start with the basics. A class can be defined as nothing but a blueprint for creating objects. What is an object? It is an instance of that class. Let's take an example. As you see in the slide, the design or the blueprint of the house, which contains how the house will look, how many rooms will it have, how many washrooms will it have, what will be the design of each and everything. It is the blueprint, or what we call as a class. And the actual house which turns out from that design is called an object. Now, what do you understand by public members? Public members, as the name suggests, by default, all the attributes and methods in Python classes are public, which means they can be accessed from anywhere, inside or outside the class. As you see, we can take the example of a public park, which is accessible to anyone and everyone. Okay. Now, what do you understand by protected members? Protected, as the name suggests, it can be accessed only if you are a part of it. In Python, we use a single underscore before the variable name to indicate that it is protected, which we can take an example of a building. It is protected, but you have an access if you live in that building, right? Now, what do you understand by a private member? As the name suggests, it is only accessible inside a class. These are declared using double underscores. These cannot be accessed directly from outside the class. As you can take an example of a private bedroom. Only you or whoever the bedroom belongs to has the access to it, right? So I would like to show you the syntaxes of the following. This is how we define a class with the name. For example, class which has a name, class name. So then I have defined the initial as, so def init self comma parameter is nothing but where we define the constructor method of the class. Self refers to the current object. Parameter is a placeholder for any input you want to give while creating the object. Like self.attribute1 is equals to value 1, where we create an instance variable called attribute1, and self.attribute1 means this attribute belongs to the object. Value 1 is actually the placeholder. It can be parameter or any value you want to assign. Now, similarly, a second attribute we have provided. Now, what is def method 1? Self. It is a method inside the class, a function that works on the object. Self again refers to the object. Method 1 is a placeholder name. You can replace it with something meaningful like start underscore engine, get info, etc. Pass is a placeholder statement which here means do nothing for now. Useful when you haven't written the method's logic yet. Okay, now coming up to the second one. How do we create an object? Object underscore name tells you that this is the name of the object that you are creating. The object will now have access to all the attributes and methods inside that class. Now, public parameter or the public member is equals to self.attribute, no underscore. It can be accessed from anywhere, inside or outside the class. This is the default in Python. For example, it can be as self.name is equals to Akanksha. Okay. For protected, single underscore before the name, which means please treat this as protected. It should not be accessed directly outside the class. Private. Double underscore to make it private. Python uses name mangling and all to prevent accidental access, but it is not directly accessible from outside the class. So, with this demonstration of simple short codes will help you understand better about the classes, objects, and the 3P members, that is the public, protected, and the private members. So I will start with the very first code regarding how do we define a class. So we just write class with name, suppose here it is car, then it basically defines a class named car. Then we use the constructor in it, the initial one. We place 2 double underscores before and after to define, rather initialize brand and color, let's suppose. So that's how we write. Then we will write about the 2 attributes, that is the brand and the color. Write it as self.brand equals to brand and self.color equals to color. Now we define a method to start the engine, which will be written as def start underscore engine brackets self. And then we just print the statement. Basically, the start underscore engine is one method that prints a message. Now we'll write the print statement. Print f the self.color self.brand car's engine has started. Basically, the start underscore engine is one method that prints a message. Now we can use F5 or the run button to run this code. But as you can see, there is no object created, so nothing runs yet. Now, moving on to how do we create object and call it with a method. So for that, the code remains the same for writing the class or defining the class. We just create an object. And how do we create an object? We would write my underscore car equals to car with the name Tesla and the color red, let's suppose. And now we will call the method using that object by writing my underscore car dot start underscore engine and parenthesis. So here we are calling the method using that object, and as we defined above, the method is start underscore engine. And when again you want to run this, you save the file, then you press F5 or the run button and you'll see the output as the car's engine has started. Okay. Hope it's clear. Moving on to public members. So how will you write above for public members? The syntax for defining a public member is nothing, just the basic one, the normal one. You write it like that only, but you write it as self.brand equals to brand. Basically, it means it is accessible directly from anywhere. So when you write this, you'll write it here the same, and we'll try to get the details here. So we would write def show underscore details self print statement for brand, then color. Object creation remains the same. So next we will write the print statement as accessing brand directly from outside the class, comma my underscore car dot brand. So as you'll see, you can even avoid this print statement. You can directly just call it out, and when you run this, it will give you the output as brand Honda, color blue. You can even place something else, that's your choice, with the print statement as accessing brand directly from outside the class Honda. Now we would write or talk about the protected members. So to define a protected member, we need to change the syntax, which is here you would write instead of self.brand, this syntax is ._brand. You would place a single underscore before the name to make it protected. And then again, we can keep this the same and just directly print it out. And you would see the output. So this is how we talk about the protected ones, which can be accessed from outside, but it is not recommended. Now, finally, would like to talk about the private members. In private members, there's only one difference that you need to place in the syntax. Instead of dot and a single underscore, you place dot with double underscore. But this cannot be accessed from outside. It's for internal use only. And then you can even place the double underscores and you can just print about it. So I hope this was beneficial for you to understand and have a better clarity understanding about the concepts. Thank you. Now, I would like to conclude. So here we understood in Python classes and objects from the foundation of the object-oriented programming, allowing for organized and reusable code. And we even understood the three types of member access modifiers: public, protected, and private, which are essential for controlling how data and methods are accessible within and outside the class. Hope everything was easy and clear to understand. See you in the next video. Thank you.